Welcome to episode 44 of Enter the Mind podcast, the most real talk, no nonsense podcast on the empowering of the mind. I'm here today with my co-host Kyra, and we're going to talk about being straightforward. So Kyra, why don't you introduce the topic for us and give us some context?
Okay, so I'm reading a book called 92 Ways to Talk to Anyone. And in the book, she brought up how people who are rich don't beat around the bush. They're not scared of words like toilet paper or like crap. I don't know. They're just not scared. They're straightforward. And people will notice if you're not rich by the way that you talk. And I completely agree with that, because if, say somebody comes up to us, maybe and we're with 5 other people who are also thinkers and, uncovers of hidden truths of the world. And somebody comes up, and they're trying to talk to us. Of course, we would be nice and everything, but it's like, you can tell when somebody doesn't speak your lingo. So it got me thinking about just being straightforward in general. Now, me, I'm a very straightforward woman, but I've read in some things that maybe it's better not to be as straightforward all the time, which led me to think that we should discuss when to be straightforward and when to not be straightforward. Because there are times when I have started dating a guy and I tell him after like the 3rd date, if like I actually like him, like, hi, I just wanted to let you know I'm looking for a relationship. So if you don't want that, sayonara, because I don't want to waste my time with you. And they'll be like, oh, well, I think that was like a little bit too soon. And I'm like, first of all, motherfucker, I don't know what you mean by too soon. It has nothing to do with you. It has something to do with me. Okay, so back yourself up because yeah. But yeah, so I think that, being straightforward, it's like if you're having, I don't know, miscommunication with a friend, or you're angry with a friend for something that they said. Something that I used to do when I was younger, was to just kind of hold it inside and not really speak about it, not be straightforward about how I'm feeling, because I don't know, it caused friction in the relationship. But side note, one of the things that I've learned that creates extremely amazing relationships is friction, because the friction causes, eventually you're able to fit together. But it's like talking to a friend, when you're upset with them, you tell them you're going to be straightforward and you're going to say, hey, man, I really don't like the way that you talked to me in front of those people today. It made me feel embarrassed and small, and I don't want to be seen that way. So I would appreciate if you treat me with a little bit more respect in front of other people. And of course, I'll do the same to you, and let me know if I've ever slipped up. So, it's very good to be straightforward in situations like that. And I know that I'm talking a lot, but I want to add one more thing, and it's the when not to be straightforward. And I guess another form of being straightforward with me is, I guess, also being authentic. Maybe that's a confusion that I have between the two. I haven't, I guess, thought about that part yet, but is, going up to people and just being straightforward. Like, like, I don't know, just, I guess, straightforward, but I can't think of it. But that would be a position not to be straightforward, but I can't think of it. So you go.
Yeah, it's all good. I'm sure we'll circle back to that in a little bit. It's really interesting that you said in that book, it was 92 Ways to Talk to Anyone. That was the book.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It said that rich people, they don't beat around the bush. They're more direct. And that makes a lot of sense to me, actually. I would say that I actually learned a lot about being direct by watching The Apprentice. And the star of that, as we know, is Donald Trump. And of course, everybody listening right now, I would guess 60% of everyone listening is going to be like, what? He's talking about that cuckoo, but I think what's important is to acknowledge, first of all, people might change over time, but then people also change it when they get positions of power. They might act differently. And I don't know much about Trump's politics. What I do know, though, is I've read every one of his business books, and I've watched every episode of Apprentice season 1. And yeah, anyone who right now is saying, Trump is crazy, I doubt has read those business books. That being said, in The Apprentice, the boardroom scenes are fascinating because he has all the contestants, and then he'll say one of them has to be voted off, basically, or he decides. It's kind of like Survivor. So whichever team lost the challenge, one of them has to be fired. And Trump, when he's trying to figure out who to fire, he says, he'll go around and he'll ask so and so, who do you think on your team should be fired? And they cannot give a straight answer at all. They're like, well, everybody did great. And then he'll be like, who do you think should be fired? And they're like, well, we all made an effort. And then he'll say, do you think you should be fired? No, because I thought I did my role. Okay, well, who did not do their role? Well, I mean, everybody kind of did. You see what I mean?
Yes. Shut up.
Exactly. It's so annoying, but that's how most people talk. Why is that? Why are most people like so afraid to just call it like it is?
I know why. And it's because we don't have anything else to give a fuck about. So we give a fuck about things that don't really matter. Right? So it's like people who are rich most of the time. So I just made a post yesterday about a poor person not really poor, but a person pretending to be rich, and then a person who's actually rich. You can always tell because they don't give a fuck about things that poor and middle class people give a fuck about, right? They don't care if they're, I don't know, maybe blowing their nose at the table or they have to cough at the table. Nobody cares. Great, have your nose blows, have your cough. Nobody cares. We have bigger things to worry about, right? But then other people are like, where's your manners, etc. And it's like, yeah, I get it. Yeah, maybe that wasn't the best example, but you feel me, right? So it's like, I feel like we're so scared to be straightforward because we feel like we've got something to lose, because we feel like this is how we were brought up, to be nice, not to tell people what's actually the truth. It's like when somebody has something in their teeth, yo bro, you got something in your tooth. When somebody's being an asshole, yo bro, you're being an asshole. When somebody asks you, who do you think should go, you really think about it and you say, I know that one of these people have made a motherfucking mistake, and if this is what you want me to tell you, then I'm going to tell you. It's like we just have to stop giving a fuck about things that shouldn't be given a fuck about. I have this friend who, most of my rich friends or people with more money, they don't care about telling me what's up. They're like, yo, Kyra, you need to cool it down. We're in a place of like high class or whatever. And I'll be like, oops, sorry, and they'll be like, yeah, get your shit together. And I'm like, okay, I love you. All right. I got it, but it's like, I don't need to give a fuck about that because I know that they're saying it with love. It's not something that I need to give a fuck about. So it's like, I feel like when there's an equal amount of security between both people, you can say things that other people would pay attention to and claim that you're hurting them, or that's not the proper way to talk to me. But do you see what I'm getting at? I can't get my words out this morning.
Well, I was focusing on an idea that came to mind just a minute ago as you were speaking, which was, I think it's the value of time that rich people understand. They understand the value of time, and that's why they're direct and straight to the point. Like, to beat around the bush takes extra time, and it's like you can't afford that. Once you realize the value of time, I mean, another great book is Secrets of the Millionaire Mind by T. Harv Eker, and in that book he talks about examples like I think it's that book. It may or so don't quote me on this, but the of people waiting in line for an hour so that they can get a free like bucket of chicken from Popeyes on this like once a year special deal or something. And if the bucket of chicken costs like $5, and you're waiting in line for, let's say, 2 hours, then the value of your time is $2.50 for each hour. And it's like, you can't go make a business on your spare time that makes more than $2.50 an hour. Like, that's the opportunity cost, you know. And in The Apprentice, another example was like, you know, Trump is just he's very like, if one thing can't be done, he asks like, what else can be done. Like, one time they were trying to find this one celebrity that was supposed to perform at this charity event, and they didn't know where she was. And then Trump is asking the contestant, he's like, where's the celebrity? And the guy goes, I don't know, I think her plane arrived, but I don't know where she's. And he's like, do you think she's upstairs? And then he's like, maybe. He's like, and then Trump goes, let's check upstairs. And it's just like this forward energy of like,
Mm-hmm.
like 0 time spent complaining, 0 time spent in doubt, 0 time spent in, you know, these like useless emotions. It's all about, okay, what are we trying to accomplish here? Okay, what's the fastest way there? Let's go. Oh, there's a roadblock. Okay, so what's the best way to get around this roadblock? And
Mm-hmm.
that's the energy. And that's how I know when I'm in front of someone who is like, what you might call like a mover and shaker, or somebody who can like do things, or a rich person or whatever. Like, that's their mindset. And I like that stuff, you know.
I definitely agree. I love that stuff too. I love when people understand the value of time, because it's like, hey, do you want to hang out? Yes or no? Yes. Great. What do you want to do? Okay. When do you want to go? Okay, let's do it. You know, instead of like, hey, what are you doing? Well, I'm doing this, and that. Okay, great. You want to hang out today? Well, I'm not really sure, because I got to do this, that, and that, but I feel like I really want to hang out with you, so I'm not sure. You know, and then I'm like, all right, well, you know, now I have my whole day open, and I don't know whether I'm hanging out with this person or not, and it's annoying. You know, nobody. It's like, why can't we just, you know, boom, boom, bam, bam, get to the picture, right? And it's like, I remember there was a guy that I saw for a little bit in my past. Horrible, fucked me up deeply. But I remember there was something about him that I always admired, that I still think about it today. I adored how much of a go-getter he was. And it was like, I remember I had painted something on I drew it actually, and it was beautiful. It was one of the most beautiful designs. And he was like, yo, we should throw this on a t-shirt and start a business, right? And I'm like, well, fuck yeah. He's like, all right, let's go today. And I'm like, okay, but well, I kind of wanted to smoke weed and do a little acid. Maybe can we do it after? You know, it's like, you know, he was so go-getter, and that's probably why we didn't work out, because I wasn't there yet. But, you know, it's something that I admire to this day, and something that I still like about people to this day. I love go-getters. I love people who don't waste any time. They have a good idea. They trust that idea. They figure out what they need to do it, and they just run with it. I love people like that. Stagnant energy is very annoying.
Yeah, definitely. I had coffee with this one guy who's like a brilliant business person. He's got like he's got so many 100,000 whatever followers. And actually, one of his followers on Instagram is Grant Cardone. Grant Cardone follows this guy. It's like, it's ridiculous, right? So I was at Starbucks with this guy. He's like, this is what is he? I want to say Israeli or something, right? He has an accent, right? And and he's started all these successful businesses. And I was talking to him about my YouTube channel and stuff, and he's like, he goes, yeah, just make a video every day, you know, post something every day, right? And I was like, but I've only been posting like once a month or something. And I'm like, and what about like, it just takes a lot of time and this and that. And you could see the difference in mindset between me and him. He's like,
Mm-hmm.
he's like, and then go post on these other platforms too. And but I have to make an account to like post on these other platforms. But yeah, but you just do it every day. You know, it doesn't take long. Yeah, just do it. And it was just so funny, like how action oriented this guy was.
Mm-hmm. and how easy it sounds to them. They just have it in their mind and they're like, oh, I've got it. Just post a few videos on here, switch it to the other platforms. You know, you got this, you know, and then they wave it off like it's nothing. It's like, all right, there you go. You know, just do that. I know it's the answer. And it's great because it reminds me of when that guy, my friend who's an artist, that let me use his art warehouse for art studio for my ecstatic dance. And when I came in, you know, I was excited. I was like, I'm gonna be professional. I'm gonna, you know, do this. And he's like, well, did you drop off any flyers at any of the colleges? I'm like, well, no. He's like, all right, well, what about the top places that teens hang out and like people hang out? And I'm like, no. And he's like, all right, well, this is what you're going to want to do. You're going to want to create an ad. And he's like, you're going to want to go to the colleges and hang them up. And he's saying all this stuff. And I'm like, wow, he's just got it all set already. And I'm here like, all right, come with me, maybe. Like, will you do it with me? You know, I'm obviously, you know, not on that same level, but it's so nice to come in contact with people like that, because it really gives us a refresher in order for us to grow into, you know, those people. Like, we're already action oriented, but I'm saying, like, in general, it's nice to be around those people to keep that fresh in, you know, the DNA.
Yeah, and I just had a huge insight here because so thank you for inspiring that. We started with this topic of of communication, straightforward communication.
Mm-hmm.
And this being the Enter the Mind podcast, we inevitably tie this into the mind. And what I'm realizing is that it's not just about straightforward communication, but it's also straightforward thinking. Like the mind, you know, now that we're entering the mind and we're looking at how it operates, there's also straightforward thinking, and there's also beating around the bush thinking. Right? And the beating around the bush thinking is like, you know, well, maybe I shouldn't, because what if I do this? It's going to take too long to do that. If I, well, you know, if I post on these other platforms, I have to make an account, and then, right? And it's almost like obstacle oriented thinking, you know, like, you know, like, get a list and here, write down how many obstacles there are to accomplishing, write down how many reasons why it's going to be hard or difficult to reach this goal. And I'll bet you some people, or I should say some minds, right? Some minds are going to be great at that task. Oh yeah, here's a problem, here's a problem, here's a problem. And then you tell them, okay, now write a list of all the reasons why it's going to be easy, or write a list of all the reasons or all the solutions for each of those problems. And their minds might be like very slow at that task. And that's an example of, I don't know, I think it's mental conditioning. I think I'm witnessing this a lot, because right now I'm in Chicago, and you know, I left this city 6 years ago, and I've really dived into self-development, and well, I've always been interested in that, but always editing, always revising my mind. And when I come back here to sort of where I came from, right, I see all of these patterns. Like, I'm not just observing like, oh, there's trees here and there's not trees in California. Like, that's superficial. What I am here doing is I'm observing the whole mindset, the Midwest mindset, the thought patterns. Is the Midwest mindset is it straightforward, or is it, you know, is it mired in sort of obstacles? But yeah, what do you think about that? Is the mind, can we say that the mind is like, can be straightforward at times, or can like beat around the bush?
Yeah, definitely. It's I just caught myself doing it the other day, actually. I remember I was trying to get myself up to go to the park, and drive to the park and just go and sit in my special spot. And I was thinking of all the reasons not to do it. It just one after the other. I was like, I'm kind of tired, and like, I don't know, I really want to rest. I saw something online that said Aquariuses. Maybe I'm pushing my body too hard, you know, and like all of these reasons came up. And then like I thought to myself, and I stop in my mind and I go, wait a minute. I go, those aren't real. No thanks. You know, and I got up and I went and I had a beautiful, 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 beautiful time. I released a lot. So it was a great, great time. But yeah, so I definitely think that, you know, our minds, and the cool thing about it is that when we kind of think about things like that, if we can become conscious, we really can look at that thought pattern, that thought process. You know, it's like, okay, well, I'm going to do this. And then all of a sudden, like those kind of thoughts start popping into our heads that are like, oh no, I can't do that. I don't know enough people. I don't know if my energy will be right. Maybe I should wait until I move, blah, 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 you know, and then you can say, wait a minute, all of those things are not real. I ship you back to the quantum realm where you came from. Thank you. I understand that my vibration matched this thought that you so generously sent to me. Thank you. But now my vibration is different. I'm going to send this back to the quantum realm, and I'm going to take from the quantum realm what actually matches my current vibration and what I want it to be. And I feel like you can definitely master the art of straightforward thinking by when an idea pops up. There's this girl on Instagram. Her name is Relocate to Freedom, but it's like Relo and then it's Kate because her name is Kate. She's amazing. Check her out. But she posted something the other day, and it said, it's not doubt in yourself, it's doubt of the idea that pops into your mind, right? So it's like that idea pops up, and then all of the reasons flood your mind why it's not a good idea, or why the idea isn't as great as it initially was when it just popped up into your mind and got you excited. But if you can veto those and tap into that initial feeling of the idea and what you got, and listen to those positive thoughts, reasons why it'll work, it'll get you more excited, and it can show you a pathway to, you know, straightforward thinking, and maneuvering your brain into straightforward thinking, and it'll come out in your actions, it'll come out in your words, and, you know, you'll start attracting, rich people, you'll start attracting people who are also straightforward and know the value of time. So yeah.
Yeah, so well said. That was full of stellar sound bites there.
Thank you.
I think that there's a lot of insights from that. One of them is this concept of what I would call patrolling the mind. I like how you said kind of sending these thoughts back to the quantum realm, or back to where they came from. And I think a great metaphor to think about the mind is a nightclub where you have security that has to regularly remove the troublemakers, the people that drink too much and are getting into fights and all that stuff, right? And it's like we have to constantly patrol our mind and literally kick out our negative thoughts, and then place more attention on the positive ones. So that's like, that's a totally useful way of thinking about it. And then as for straightforward, I wrote down, you said master the art of straightforward thinking. And so it's totally an issue of mastery, I think. And when we observe the mind, by the way, these will be my final thoughts for the day due to the time. But just like you said, we have a doubt. That Instagram person you were referring to, they say we have a doubt, and then we have responses to that doubt, right? Something like that.
It was like an idea.
Oh,
an idea pops into your head, and then you doubt the responses.
Oh yeah,
doubt
and then then your responses are doubts to that idea, and that speaks to the fact that the mind, it works in like a dialogue of this response and this back and forth of like, well, what if I go to the gym? It's going to be too cold. Well, yeah, but I kind of wanted to keep this routine. Why are you laughing? Is this something you experience, or it's just so common?
It's just so funny.
Huh?
The dialogue between the self.
Yeah, it's all like it's this debate. It's like these characters within your own head, right? But here's the kicker. Look at this. If we've got these two, if we've got these characters in the mind communicating with each other, right? Saying, "Oh, it's too cold." But yeah, but you said New Year's resolution, blah blah. If they're communicating, then we could ask, are they exhibiting straightforward communication, or are they exhibiting beating around the bush communication? You see?
You got served.
Now we've entered the mind. And what we thought was, oh, it's people talking to each other on planet Earth. It's these little characters in here saying this and then this and this and that, right? And
Yeah,
then
I really
you got to give the boot to one of them. So the one, whoever's not speaking clearly and in a straightforward and empowering way, we got to get rid of them and give the microphone to the other ones, right?
completely agreed. And it just sparked something inside of me, which will also be my final thoughts. But I feel like there are multiple versions of ourselves, inside of ourselves. So it's like we could be having a dialogue, right? And it's like, hey, I really want to go here. And this one version of you is like, oh, but I'm tired. And then the other version is you is like, hey, quiet. You can sleep tonight. And then comes back to this one. It's like, well, I think it would be a really educational thing to go to this park. And then the spiritual version of you is like, it really elevate my spirit. And so finally, ultimate you comes to the decision, and it's like, okay, we're going. And then this one here who was like, oh, but I'm tired, just kind of goes to sleep. It just kind of, goes to sleep, but it's like, all right, sayonara, I'll see you later. But I think it's really interesting that we're talking about this because over a year ago when I lived in Indonesia, and I was just completely sober at the time, like no drinking, no nothing. And I was having a conversation with myself last night, and it was a long not last night, but it was a long conversation in my laptop. And it was like, I really don't like the way you treat me. And it was like, okay, well, I'm sorry. What's the issue? It was like, you make me feel this, this, and that, and then the other voice inside me would reply with compassion, and be like, I'm really sorry that I made you feel that way. And the conversation went on and on and on. And both parties were extremely, straightforward, straight to the point. Is like, I want to feel this way and you make me feel this way. So I think that it's really interesting that we not only brought up straightforward thinking, but you broke it down into both sides of your brain, both being straightforward and both not beating around the bush and being, training them to really be straightforward and direct. So that way, you can live a happier, more aligned life. Yeah. So I guess those are my final thoughts. And, just be direct, be straightforward, because, all the times that I am straightforward and direct, it may be a little bit uncomfortable in the beginning, but it overall, number one, shows people how they need to treat me. And number two, it most of the time gains respect for me from others because I'm so straightforward, and most people aren't. So that's valued. It's a value in people. And, being straightforward does not mean being rude. Okay. I want to put that, right there. Like it does not mean by any means mean being rude. It just means being direct, being straightforward, not beating around the bush, and saying what you have to say with clarity and compassion.
Yeah, totally. I think if anything, it's almost the opposite of rude. Because there's so many instances where someone is rude by indirectly, by like in a passive aggressive way, like they'll say something like, well, I just, I thought my ideas would be considered, like a sort of a passive, like they're kind of being around the bush, and that's rude,
Yes. Yeah.
And so you're right. I'm glad you pointed that out, that like being direct is it's not rude. I think that's why people shy away from it. It's kind of confrontational, but confrontational is not necessarily a bad thing either. It's as long as you're focused on the solution, you know, it's like,
Yeah.
how about we do this? How about,
Yeah.
So let's see, what question would we like to ask of our listeners to put in the comments of in terms of today's episode and being straightforward? Maybe an example of being straightforward, or what do you think would be good to, what are you curious about?
I actually thought that it would be great to hear from the beautiful minds that listen to this podcast, your definition of straightforward. I think that in your own words, we would love to hear it, love to see it, love to feel it, love to respect it. Go you, let's hear it.
Totally. Thank you, Kyra. And yeah, if you want to keep up with us, I'm on Instagram at Existence First, all one word, lowercase. And Kyra?
And I am at Soul Designed Future.
Awesome. Yeah, send us a message if you have requests for future episodes, and we'll see you next week.